Hi guys. Um, Lately I've been pondering about, oh wow, my freckles are really coming out with the sun. I had my hat off and I have major hat head. But anyways, this week I've been pondering about my podcast and like what I want it to be about. And as much as I definitely want it to be about preventing childhood emotional neglect, what really is my biggest, greatest love is shadow work. I could talk about it all day with you. I really could. It's the one thing that I'm sure might annoy people about me, and that's okay. Um, I think your purpose is supposed to be a bit like that. It's going to push some people away and pull some people closer. But I wanted to really talk about the shadow of the woman's shadow, and how I took this free workshop course this past week, and yesterday was about internalized misogyny and the ways that we slut shame other women and the ways that we project our own unacknowledged, the parts of ourselves that we're not holding, the parts of ourselves that maybe we would secretly like to act out, but we don't because they've been shamed and repressed onto other women as women. And I wanted to talk about this because I have done this myself. I've been guilty of this myself, you know. And what that looks like in my day to day is recently I felt a little bit intimidated, a little bit insecure um, about somebody who I've met. And I'm not going to give any details because I want to protect everybody's, just some things don't need to be said. But I was feeling myself feeling intimidated by this woman who was like alluring and pretty, and who I am seeing as like she's got a sexiness to her, and not because she's being provocative or promiscuous or any, and not that there's anything wrong with that in itself, but although I do have my story there too. But like I have been seeing this person as like mysterious, alluring, pretty, and like all the things about I could see why Tyler would fall in love with someone like her, or I could see. And so I had a dream about this person, but it wasn't really her. It was like a caricature, and she had this attire on that was black with like cut, ripped holes in it that was kind of like see-through, like you'd see like parts of her skin because there was cut-offs in it, but then she had beautiful earrings. And then like as I approached her I felt intimidated, but as we started to talk she softened, I softened, like there was like a kind exchange in it. So I was like, interesting, I am intimidated and judging somebody who's mysterious, alluring, pretty, maybe a bit provocative, but then as we talk and I soften to that part of myself that's a little bit nervous, we both have this dialogue and this interaction that's actually really beautiful. And so, like, another thing I'll share with this is journaling about where, like, places, people, and things that might intimidate you or freak you out, or maybe your like story you get in a bit of a conniption. So I have noticed within myself, it's pretty vulnerable to admit this, but like sometimes I get a little bit, these feelings come up with waitresses, I noticed. And so this is part of my own story. When I was a kid growing up, um, at a bar with my dad, my brother, there was a woman who was approaching my dad, and my dad was not making it clear that, like, he was not interested. Like, he didn't take the steps to protect not only his marriage, but also, like, our eyes as children. So that created a story in me. So that intimidation and that part of me that wants to project my shame and fear, it's not that other woman, it's not these other people that are the problem. That's my ego that I'm trying to protect. Um, and we all do this in one way, shape, or form. Maybe for you, it's, somebody, I don't know, they're writing a book or they're doing something really amazing in their life. And like, there's this sense of like, oh, I'm not enough here. That is what I'm trying to protect here. And I've seen it in myself. Like I've seen myself in this state in this exchange and being like, oh wow, I feel like I'm not good enough. I feel like I have to compare. I feel like I'm going to be abandoned. I'm going to be left. All the feelings I felt in that moment when I was a child, seeing somebody kind of be all over my father, the person who's supposed to protect me and didn't. And so I made this story that I was going to be abandoned, naturally. Like that's our bodies. We're trying to protect ourselves. Where it becomes unnatural is when we project that onto another woman, who has nothing to do with the story. It's not personal to that person. And when I sit back and actually reflect on this, I'm like, actually, this person and I have had some really nice interactions. And I'm like, we'd probably get along great. And I need to, like, breathe through my shit so I can see her as an equal, right? And this is vulnerable to share, but I'm at a point in my life where my shame is way lower and my courage is higher. And my desire to see this sisterhood shit end is far higher. And I'm not sharing this because I'm all love and light and because I just want to help people and I just want to see the world be a better place, although that's part of it. And I want to see this decline in internalized shame. I want to see healthier families, healthier mothers and women for their daughters and their communities. So that is definitely part of it, but I want to make friends that I can have. I want to make friends that I can have these conversations with. And although these things might come up in each other, we can talk about them. We don't have to shame each other. And, like we might react and have moments, but we can come back and repair. That is the difference, right? It's like families who are healing. Mothers and dads, they snap back at their kids. It's the repair. The emotional intelligence comes back to repairing the relationship. And so, yeah, I want to see less harm done. And also, I do want to make a living out of doing this because it's my great love in life. Like it's my path. I really like it. I've been called to it for my whole life. So yes, I'm a little bit selfish in that regard, and I do want to make some money making a living doing this work because it's what's going to pull me no matter what other job I have to do along the way. It's always what I'm going to come back to. And like I want to make friends with women where we can share these fears with each other. We're not intimidated by each other's sense of humor. Or maybe we are, but it's that repair, right? Like if one of us is sexual and we have a healthy sexuality, we own that within ourselves and we take responsibility for how we're each feeling because that's what for me, that's the point of life. That's the point of a relationship. That's the point of friendship. I'm like, if not else, then why? Like, why be friends with somebody? I'm at that stage where I'm like, yeah, this is who I am. Um, if we're not harming people and we're just being ourselves, we're not doing anything wrong. It's our ego. We need to allow space for our ego to realize that it's safe again, and that takes time, that takes courage. But a lot of us are still protecting our ego. So I guess I want to leave you with what places, what environments do I catch myself getting tripped up in? Because I don't always feel this way. There's just moments I've noticed where I feel this way a little bit more often. This intimidation, I'm not good enough. Oh, she's really beautiful, you know. Um, and that's been set up since my childhood. I had reason to protect myself that way, but I don't have a reason to protect myself that way anymore. And I mean, in ways like our body believes we do, because way back when, in our genes, in our biology, we had to protect ourselves because someone else might take our partner. Women turned against each other. Like, that is a very visceral, it's a threat. Like, it feels threatening. But that is our work to do in this lifetime. I want to get to the point where I'm so secure that, like, like, I'm not walking around when I'm kind and playful with men. I'm not trying to sleep with them, So I can assume that the average woman is also probably not trying to sleep with my husband, right? And if they are, then, like, that's not something I can fight or live my life under. What is the point, Like, if that's the case and that can happen, then that's a partner problem. That is a problem with the person we're with. And then obviously that raises another concern. But yeah, this work is just so precious. Like, I have dreams about it, and it really shows me, like, where I'm activated in my body, what I need to, like, take on more. Like, in the dream, she was beautified with jewelry, and I was like, oh, I need to wear jewelry more because it makes me feel real pretty. And her earrings were beautiful, and she was gentle and docile. And there's a part of me that's really gentle and docile, which, for so long, I used to, like, that is one thing I'm stepping more into, is, like, saying the truth, but also being gentle and sensitive about it, because I do have a reactive part of myself that's, protective and defensive. But yeah, I wanted to share that because, like I said, that's just my journey. For so long, I wanted to hear other people's day-to-day experiences of shadow work, where it's like they're not just talking about the end goal or where they've arrived, like, they're talking about what that looks like day to day and admitting their own humanity within it, right? So, yeah, if that calls to you, feel free to reach out. This work is so beautiful. It's very challenging. But one thing in this workshop she was talking about, the one I took this past week, she was talking about Carl Jung. And so he was, like, the OG in the Western world of, like, talking about shadow work. He's not the real OG. I don't, like, Jesus talked about sins. I think sins are really just our shadow that we're projecting onto other people and judging in other people. It could be looked at that way. But so Carl Jung was saying 10% of what's in our shadow is dark. So, like, the jealousy, the rage, the resentment, the division, the separation, the greed. So if 10% of is negative, that means 90% of it is positive. So 10% is protecting us, our ego protecting ourselves, right? And underneath all of that, that's a lot of energy that's it's not a lot, it's a dense energy trying to contain all of our goodness, because once upon a time our goodness got shit on, got shamed, got judged, got demonized, right? But underneath all of that, there's so much potential. Like, could you imagine if women were just so fucking jazzed up on each other? You're learning to, like, dance, you're learning to write a book. Tell me how you got to that space. Tell me how you got there. Like, imagine our daughters saw women just celebrating each other, and like, people who were trying to harm us would have no fucking chance, right? When we're solid in ourselves. And, like, that teaches men as well too, to have reverence for women, to have reverence for like, I really do think a lot of this work starts with women. If we can create life, if we can birth a baby, a lot of this stuff starts with us. And that's it's not coming from a place of, like, victimhood or blaming. That's our power. That's our power to hold space for that. Men have to do this work too, though. This doesn't absolve them of doing this work. They have to. To have strong boys, to have strong men in the world, we need men to hold their own and to protect, like, know how to speak for themselves and to speak from a ground place and a gentle place. And that takes presence. A lot of this work is coming back to our own body, coming back to our own snap reactions, our own judgments, like all the thoughts that are just like bringing us up into a Speedy Gonzales place of fight or flight, all the thoughts that are like demonizing somebody else, judging somebody else, all the ways that we protect our ego. That's what this work is really about. Um, yeah. My phone's gonna die, but I hope that helps. If anybody, like I said, reach out. If there's anything you'd like me to talk about or share about regarding this work, I can talk, like I've said, I can talk about this all day long. Um, it really is like, what I'm here for. So, thanks for listening so far.